Great. And hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on AI-augmented app testing strategies to accelerate delivery. My name is Dinakar, and I'll be the host for today. And before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping rules. Your line is currently muted. However, you can submit your questions using the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. We will answer your questions at the end of the webinar in the Q&A section. Please note that this webinar is also being recorded, and we will share the link of the recording to share with your colleagues later. With that said, let me quickly introduce the speaker for today. Avinash is a renowned thought leader, a recognized keynote speaker, and the co-founder of pCloudy. He carries a rich experience of about 20 plus years of experience in product development and testing. He brings with him a passion for emerging technology and quick adoption, both of which have solidified his reputation as a leader in the app testing space. Without further ado, let's hand it to our speaker, Avinash Tiwari.
Thanks, Dinakar. Thanks for the introduction. So good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where are you joining from. And a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm really excited to be in front of you, and thanks for joining in such large numbers. It shows the interest in this topic and the kind of change, kind of impact it's creating within the industry. As Dinakar mentioned, my name is Avinash, and I'm one of the co-founder of pCloudy, which is part of OpKey. And over the last 2 decades, I have been at the intersection of product building, tech, and software quality. And I've seen so many business transformations, tech transformations. But having seen all that, I can say that we are clearly at an inflection point where there are huge changes happening around us in every area of our life. And that's because of the advancements in the AI technologies that we have seen last couple of years. And that's one of the reasons I'm super stoked today to share what I know, and also to know from you through your feedbacks, through your questions. So please feel free to just drop in your thoughts, suggestions, feedbacks, share or questions during the session. I would love to know about what your thoughts are. And also, if there are questions, love to answer towards the end of the session. So use the Q&A panel as freely as you can. So having said that, a quick round of introduction for the product. Some of you who might be new to pCloudy. pCloudy is a unified platform for continuous automated testing. And we are one of the first unified platform to bring the automation creation as well as the whole automation infrastructure in terms of mobile device cloud, browser cloud at a single point, combined with test management. So that gives organizations an ability to run their tests continuously in an agile fashion and then execute it on a large infrastructure that we provide. So from that perspective, I would welcome all of you to go and try the product and see it for yourself. We have been in industry from last 7 years almost. We are trusted by some of the largest companies in the world. And so far, we have served close to 1,000 plus customers globally. We are recognized by many of the analysts, as well as our users have given extremely generous ratings, which shows the love for us on portals like G2 Crowd. And you can see the badges on the slide here. And we're very proud to say that we have crossed almost 8 million plus minutes of testing on the platform. So you can imagine the amount of testing happening daily on our cloud in terms of both automated execution as well as manual testing of different type of applications, be it mobile or web. So with that introduction out of the way, I wanted to focus on a quick recap of AI revolution that we are witnessing, right? And needless to say, I mean, AI is everywhere. We all are experiencing in different spheres of life, be it the students, the education system, to programming, to management functioning, to our medical systems. Everywhere we are seeing use of AI. So AI definitely is going in a space of democratization where it's easily accessible to everyone and it's making a real impact in our lives. But was it the same some time back? We have been talking about AI for quite some time. And this is me 5 years back presenting in software testing conference, one of the largest testing conference in India. And the topic was, is AI forcing us to reimagine the future of testing? And we have seen the shift. But 5 years ago, AI wasn't so simple, right? Uh, the computer vision models or the machine learning models around supervised learning were quite popular, but accessing those models, building those models from scratch was very hard. It required deep technical skill set, and the use cases, especially in the testing space or the development space, were not very common from the perspective of available models that existed at that point of time. So we could use AI in a very limited way at that point of time. But come 2022, November 2022, and until you have been living under the rock, you know what I'm referring to. It's the launch of OpenAI ChatGPT, and that kind of changed the game. From that point of time, we have seen a tremendous growth in this space. And this graph that you see above the line are the open source model that came into the space, and the below the line are the commercial models. So you can see there are multiple AI models that exist in the market, and so many are open source, which gives a lot of options for developers to play with, which didn't exist 5, 6 years back when we started our journey. Um, and now the AI models can be accessed using simple API calls. So in that sense, accessing AI, building applications on top of AI has changed completely. And that's the reason we are seeing such rapid progress into all the spheres of our life where we are seeing use of AI. Uh, quick uh, word on where do we exist on the hype cycle. I mean, this is a good way to understand what's happening with this new technology. Any new technology that comes, it goes through this whole hype cycle. It's a good representation. How it's very difficult to predict how AI is shaping up right now. I mean, I don't want to take that chance of predicting, but this is a good way to understand where do we stand right now. So once in last 1 year, there has been inflated expectation, and that period is kind of over, where we are reaching towards trough of illusionment, which means now organizations are realizing the real use cases where AI can be implemented, and also in a lot of cases, the outcomes that were expected is not materialized right now. The cost of implementing at a lot of places is high, very high, and we know that the compute cost involved in building models and deploying models. So it's going through this trough, and it's predicted that beyond this trough, people will realize the real use cases where AI can be implemented, and then we'll see a real productivity gain. Um, so the point that I'm trying to highlight is this is the time to really assess what are the areas where AI can be implemented, a lot of prototyping, small utilities, small business cases can be implemented, and then we can figure out what are the real use cases where real productivity gains can happen. So this is a good representation of where do we stand right now. So beyond this fluff, right? I just wanted to cover some basics, terminologies, and some of the points that I'll be talking about. So just wanted to clear some of the points here or the basics here. Some of you might be knowing already, so just bear with me. So AI, as we know, has existed for quite some time. I mean, machine learning, computer vision have been there for quite some time, and we have seen the use cases emerging from last 5, 6 years. We have seen you have used YouTube recommendation, Netflix recommendations, spam filtering in Gmail, auto correction of emails. I mean, some of the models have been in use for quite some time, and we have been part of that journey from quite some time. But it's the generative AI which is about creating new content, right? Earlier models were mostly about classifying existing content and predicting on top of it. Here, generative AI is all about creating new content in different formats. That's the real game changer which we have seen in last 1 year or so, and that is helping us move at the rapid pace in the AI space. And this is based on large language model, as we all have heard this term, LLM. So LLM basically is about analyzing sequence of text, its context, its reasoning, and then predicting the next words. So for example, if I type sky is, LLM will predict sky is blue, right? And as we type more words, it will add the next sequence, and it also understands the context in which you are asking or providing the sentence. Now, LLM itself, so if you talk about Chat GPT, we talk about Chat GPT a lot. Chat GPT is not LLM, to be more precise. Chat GPT is an application which has been built on top of LLM, right? So that clarification is very important. Now, LLMs are basically the foundation models, right? And what I was saying about LLM is true for foundation model. That foundation models are the actual models here, which are responsible for analyzing the text and then producing the next sequence of words. So LLM is just an instance of the foundation models, and foundation models are trained on billions and trillions of parameters from the text, from the data which is available across the internet through books. There are different sources based on which it has been trained. So GPT-4, I mean, no one knows the exact number, but it is supposedly having 1.7 trillion parameters, which is extremely large, and it takes a lot of time for any model to reach that stage in terms of training. So these are some of the basic terminologies that I wanted to kind of address so that we understand and use the same language going forward. Now, in terms of progress that we have made, especially around Gen AI and LLMs based application, this is a good representation of the journey which is happening, and this journey is across last 1.5 year, starting from 2022 November and 2024 as we speak today. So during the initial launch of ChatGPT, everyone figured out that if we give a particular kind of question, LLMs can respond with different answers. So the prompt engineering became one of the key concepts within the Gen AI space. And once people understood prompt engineering and started playing with it, using it for different purposes, we saw a flood of LLMs, especially in the open source space. And Llama 2 was one of the major releases in the open source space, which kind of gave so many other open source LLMs its way into the market. But those LLMs coming into the market opened up the space, and developers soon realized that we can build real applications on top of it. I think that was the moment where real shift started happening in the Gen AI space, and that kind of led to the emergence of what we call it LLM ops, which means emergence of tools, dev tools, different kind of databases, hosting frameworks for LLM generated applications, right? And initially, again, it was applications which were built like cool projects, for example, resume generator or summarization of text. But soon, again, developers started looking at using these LLMs for their enterprise needs. So, for example, how do I build something which is dedicated or which can help me in my work area, right? Not just my organization as well. And that created a lot of disappointment as well, because LLM was quite generic in terms of its data. And if I use enterprise data, I run the risk of sharing the data to the outside world. So there were a lot of challenges that came across. But then they came RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. And that again gave a boost to the overall application development. So RAG in a very simple way is where you can provide your own data and ask LLM only to focus on that particular data to answer, and not go to the generic data points that LLM has. Uh, this really made a huge shift in terms of how anyone can create enterprise applications focused on their own needs or the organization needs. So RAG was a big shift, which happened towards end of the 2023. Now in 2024, uh, we have started seeing use of multimodal AI. So far, what we have spoken, for example, you can build an application on top of ChatGPT, or you can build an application on top of Llama. Now, developers have started experiment with multi-model AI. There are some LLMs which are good in a particular area, for example, code generation. There are some who are very good with reasoning. There are some who are very good with images. How can we combine these different models to create a end-to-end workflow? So that's where the rise of multi-model AI has started happening. And that also got pushed because of the new framework that has come in the market, which is called agentic workflows, which means you can create different agents interacting with a particular task, and those agents combine to create a end-to-end workflows, right? And if you have heard about Devin, the code generation engineer, which was released, the teaser was released I think few months back. That kind of follows this whole agentic workflows approach, and it's becoming much more popular. But the latest one, which is happening, which is quite significant for people like us who are looking to build enterprise specific applications, or to solve enterprise specific use cases, is the arrival of smaller models like Mistral. Now, as I was talking about, GPT has 1.7 trillion parameters. Now, if you have to uh, deploy that kind of model within your enterprise, the compute cost, the hosting cost could go into millions, and it might not be worth the ROI. And that is where some of the smaller models with million parameters, which can just serve the need of your enterprise, you don't need those many parameters for your enterprise use case, are becoming very popular. And I think it will help everyone build some of the enterprise use cases much faster at a manageable cost. So this is something which is happening as we speak. And in 2024, I think we'll see more advancement into these areas like multi-model agentic workflows, or more smaller models, which will help us build more practical use cases with a with much more realistic ROIs and the budgets for the AI projects. So with that progress, I think probably you would have gotten sense of where do we stand right now. Uh, we are seeing so many applications, and I'm sure you would have heard about many of these. So we have AI chatbots, we have meeting summarizers, we have code compilation platforms, we have presentations, content creation, you name a field, and there are these GenAI applications available in the market. Just to give you a sample of what exists in the world, this is just kind of a very, very small summary of kind of use cases which can be uh, served with GenAI. Now, Our focus is how we use this into the world of testing, right? And I'll talk about what we have done for pCloudy that will give you a sense of how it can be used. But what we are looking at is what are the AI testing strategies with respect to Gen AI and in general, some of the previous AI approaches can be used to really speed up your testing delivery and overall application lifecycle itself. So this is one of the diagram or the graph presented by Gartner, and it kind of represents it well. Where do we stand? So we have seen the testing journey from waterfall to agile to DevOps to AI augmented, which is the latest phenomena in the testing, right? And when we say AI augmentation, which means uh, we are talking about improving the testing efficacy while reducing the delivery cycle significantly. So the top line that you see represents the delivery cycle. So it has gone down uh, from years to now within hours, right? While the testing complexity or the rate of change has increased and the testing efficacy expectations have increased significantly. So how do you balance that? Uh, is the question that we are trying to answer here. So this is the phenomena where we stand right now, where expectation is to reduce the delivery cycle on significantly. It could be, I mean, depending on the organization, it could be weekly, it could be daily, it could be hourly, right? While the testing efficacy has to increase, and that can only happen when we start using AI augmented techniques. Now, this is another representation of how AI augmentation is helping in the overall dev side, I mean, overall software development life cycle itself. And you can see huge number of applications of AI augmentation across different phases. So for example, in coding, I mean, obvious automated code generation, but within the testing space, automated unit case generation, automated UI test cases generation, automated API test case generation. All that is very obvious in the coding phase. Then on the planning phase, a lot of organizations are using it to create their test strategies, um, uh, test cases from user stories, uh, using it for general productivity gains like summarizing minutes of meetings. Um, in the operate or the deployment phase, we are talking about um, uh, predicting change failures, right? There is a huge area coming up in the space is test observability. How do you observe the system when the system is in production, right? And there is a lot of scope to use AI to build anomaly detection and find out where could the potential failures be, and if there are failures, pointing out the real reasons of the failures immediately without kind of developers looking at it. So there are a lot of areas in the operate and measure phase where anomaly detection, pattern recognition use cases can be used. So what I wanted to highlight, I mean, you can go through each of the test case, each of the use case here. What I want to highlight is that at each stage of the life cycle, we have use cases which can be built using AI. And that's where real AI augmentation happens. So you have to start looking at in your life cycle, what are the areas that you can start planning for. Now, coming to specifically into the space of testing, right? Because that's our core focus. This is again projected by Gartner. On the right side, the chart that you see is a survey that we did with our customers in terms of what are the areas where they have started using AI. And that gives you a sense of uh, where most of the organizations have started using AI and getting a good benefit of AI augmented techniques. So Gartner clearly 5 areas. test planning and prioritization. We talked about it SDLC as well. Test creation and maintenance. So from user story test creation, NLP-based test generation. Third, test data generation. This is something where I have seen a lot of organization adopting AI because synthetic test generation has been a key challenge. And I think with the AI models, this problem can be solved much quickly. Visual testing, and this has been there in the market for quite some time because it is using the computer vision model, nothing to do with Gen AI as such. Visual testing is one of the largest use case we see in the industry in terms of AI augmentation. And then test and defect analysis. This is where a lot of those ML models I was talking about in the beginning were being used even 5 years back. That how do we predict the defects, right? We have the defect data. Can we draw some pattern out of it? So test and defect analysis is something which has been there in the market, but it's growing because of the ease of use of the models that exist in the current scenario. Now, look at the chart here. Again, it kind of gives the same sense: visual testing, manual test case generation, impact analysis, automated test script generation, object identification, self-healing, script maintenance using self-healing. Again, a big area in the testing where AI augmentation is helping a lot. And again, test data creation. So you can see the chart, it kind of maps to what Gartner has been projected, which means these are the areas where customers have been using AI augmentation for quite some time and getting some results positively. Now, again, this is slightly elaborate result of what we just saw in the chart. These are the use cases which were given by our customers in the survey that we did. So synthetic test data generation, visual testing, bug classification, predictive analytics, test case generation, auto trigger in CI/CD based on some of the parameters that exists. Server configuration planning, self-healing are some of the areas that you see listed here, have been used by our customers. And I think if you have not started thinking into those areas, you can take a look at that and then start planning in your organization also. So good list of practical use cases in the testing space, and will give you food for thought if you have not started still. Now, with some generic customer use cases that we have seen in, or the Gartner predictions that we have seen, how we have implemented some AI stack within pCloudy. So as I said, we have been working on implementing AI for quite some time. And over a period of time, we have built AI stack on top of our core platform. So just to give you a clarity of what the AI stack is and how it fits in the overall ecosystem for pCloudy. So pCloudy at its core has three pieces. One is a codeless automation where you can create scripts. And if you're not using codeless automation, you can use open source frameworks like Appium, Selenium. So creation of scripts either through our codeless platform or through your existing open source ecosystem. Then the second piece is execution, where we provide a comprehensive test infrastructure cloud with huge number of mobile devices and browsers on our cloud, both in form of public or private instances available for customers. Right? So you create your scripts and execute on a large infrastructure without any challenges, in a very seamless way, without writing any other piece of code when you build the scripts. And third piece is the analyzing, where we generate so much insights because the scripts are running on our infrastructure and we are getting so much data. So we provide very interesting insights in terms of how your application is performing when the test cases are executing on the cloud, how much pass, fail, aggregation in a very interesting way across different builds. So there are third piece is analysis of the results which are going on. And you can do it in a CI/CD mode without any manual intervention. And again, it has integration to various tools which are required within your enterprises. So from Jira to Slack to Microsoft Teams to different project management tools, different CI/CD systems, more than 50 plus integrations are in place. So that's the core of our platform. Now, what we have done is we have built a AI stack, and we have done it in a way that not only it can be used by pCloudy, we can provide access to you to start using it within your frameworks. So there are AI/ML models that we have built, for example, for visual AI, and self-healing, and interactive AI-powered assistant for code generation. And it can do a lot of other tasks as well. And on top of it, we have built some AI bots, which are used for speeding up your testing. For example, sync test, where you can run your tests across different devices while you're performing your manual tests. And then a certify a bot test, where you can run your test. You can just upload your application and it will be run on different device combinations without any line of code that you need to write. It does some kind of exploratory test on your application, and then you get the result within a span of minutes. So these are the AI stacks that we have developed, and we are adding more to this AI stack. Now, one of the interesting things that we have done is, for example, at least the AI/ML models that we are talking about can be integrated within your framework. So, for example, if you have developed a Selenium or Appium-based framework or any other tool that you are using, you can call our APIs and then use the visual AI component within your tools. If it's a Appium Selenium based framework, it's just about adding few lines of capability code, and then visual AI is integrated. So we want to, the approach that we're taking is to democratize the access of AI models that we have built for our customers. They should be able to use what we have built rather than building it themselves. So visual AI, self-healing, or the code generation assistant, which will launch very soon for external customers, while visual AI and self-healing is already there if you want to integrate with your framework. So this AI layer is already inbuilt on our cloud. So if you're running it on cloud, by default, you get the access of these. But if you want to integrate within your tools, feel free to reach out to us, and then we'll be able to help you provide access of those models, and then you can start integrating it. Just give you a slightly more deeper sense of what we're talking about. So visual AI, I mean, some of you might be knowing, it's about identifying differences on the application when the test execution is happening. So it compares the runtime execution with a base image that you provide, and automatically detects the differences on the application as your functional tests are going through. Again, a huge gain moving from just the functional testing to integrating visual AI within functional test by just integrating or inserting few lines of code within your framework. Self-healing, right? For example, it's a big challenge for automation scripts where, as the application change, one of the big region of failures are application object changes, right? It could be ID change, it could be XPath changes. What we have done is we have built a model where it identifies the changes as you run through, and it automatically heals the scripts, and your execution continues. It also provides the feedback in terms of where the changes happen. So later you can analyze whether those changes were acceptable, or you want to log it as a bug. But your execution will not get stopped. And you have a choice to either switch on, switch off. Again, it's just few lines of code, and your framework will be, or your scripts will be self-healing enabled. Third one is the AI-powered assistant I was talking about. So it not only does a lot of pCloudy tasks. So for example, you can just say to a system that show me all the devices of a particular version. It will list. So you can just ask the question in a natural language, and it will respond. And from there itself, you can start taking action. So it makes the usage of platform much more easier. Plus, it has its own code generation engine as well, which you can access within few days as we launch the next version of it. And then I was talking about some of the bots. So this screenshot talks about Elfie, which we call uh, has the code generation engine I was talking about. Then we have some of the bots like sync test, where you can run your test across different devices in the manual testing mode itself. So one way is to write automation scripts, but if you're just doing some quick testing, you made some changes to your UI or you want to validate across different devices, you just come to our platform, open multiple devices together, and then perform your testing and see the result on different devices at the same time. So huge productivity gain for anyone uh, in such scenarios. And here there is a bit of learning that we have implemented from the ML side, where as you use the application, it becomes much more intelligent to identify the actions and replicates it easily. And lastly, the bot test I was talking about, where it does a lot of exploratory testing. It's a pattern recognition kind of algorithm that we have built, where it goes through the application activities and finds out the flows and executes it on its own with different sets of data. So some kind of monkey testing followed with some real flow tests as well. However, I mean, for very complex application, it has its own limitation in terms of the number of flows that it can find out, but it's becoming better as we use it more and more. So these are some of the AI. I mean, these are part of our AI stack. And as I was saying, we are adding more, and our objective is to give access to our customers in a very easy way. We don't want to kind of uh, tie up with newer licensing and additional cost for our customers. So in that sense, I will encourage all of you to go and check, and if you want to integrate, feel free to drop us a note. Now, we have talked about using AI augmented testing, and there are so many existing tools that exist in the market. The point is, what if you want to build it on your own, right? There'll be a lot of use cases that you think of building on your own. There are a lot of use cases for which you can use existing tools. That's much more easier because you can just access it with APIs or with few lines of code. However, if there are situations where you want to build uh, your internal use cases, you need to follow a framework to figure out what are the right cases for AI. And these are the 4 steps. Again, a very simplified way of looking at it, but these are the 4 steps to figure out whether you really have a use case for AI. Now, the first and foremost is any AI model works on a lot of data. So do you have a necessary data for the use case that you're looking at? How big the data is, right? Do you have uh, do you have the data which resembles the real world problem that you're trying to solve? So for example, if you're building a bug prediction model, until you have enough set of bug data across different components of your application, the bug prediction model will not work, right? So you have to see what kind of data you have. Is it enough? Is it covering enough breadth of the problem that you're solving? Then only it makes sense to look at implementing AI use case on top of that. The second part is about the problem that you're trying to solve. Now, with the initial excitement of ChatGPT or the Gen AI that came into picture, people have been using it for a lot of purposes where probably it's not even required, right? Building applications is one part of it, but then deploying, maintaining has huge cost. So you have to recognize, is the problem that you're trying to solve complex? If it can be done with few rules, some statistical analysis, please go ahead and do it that way. Don't implement AI on top of it. As I said, it's complex to maintain, and the ROI will not be there. So look at problem which is really complex to solve. For example, in case of testing, in building a self-AI, self-healing is a complex problem. And if you're able to solve, it will help you in long run and for different kind of application. So that's a complex problem to solve in the testing side. Or within your ecosystem, developing, let's say, from user story to test case generation. So if you're able to solve it for your enterprise specific use cases, it can work for a long period of time and can give huge productivity gain. But for example, maybe the bug prediction can be solved through some of the um, existing models, pattern recognitions, etc. You don't have to build sophisticated AI for that. The third one is it a static problem or is the problem changing over a period of time? Because for the static problem, there are a lot of rule-based algorithms which are in place, which can solve the problem. You don't have to really look at using complex Gen AI models or LLMs or other ways to do it. And last one, and the last one is, do you see scale for your solution? So I think I covered that in the second point, that is it a problem that you're solving which is there for a long term? You see a lot of data getting generated over a period of time, which will be again used for your model, then it makes sense. If it's about a small problem where you have some existing data, but you don't see a lot of addition to that data in future, doesn't make sense, right? So you need to build uh, AI solution only when you see a scale for resolution, a significant scale for resolution. Otherwise, you'll not kind of get the ROI. And again, just to kind of add on to this framework, if you have found AI problem, I think this is the first step to kind of build. One first is, of course, defining the problem, which which is about finding the use case, scalability of the solution we were talking about. Once that is done, then you choose a data strategy, right? You have enough data. How do you segregate the data between training and validation? If there is some missing set of data, can you generate the data to add that missing piece? What will happen to the future data generation? How will you include that as part of your data strategy? So a lot of questions to answer there. Once that part is done, then the third phase comes where you look at tech or the infrastructure strategy. And the tech means which model, right? A lot of times we go reverse. There is LLM and we want to build something on top of it. That is not the right way. The tech or the infrastructure strategy comes later once you have identified the problem and the data strategy. So tech is all about deciding which ML model suits me, what will be the hosting strategy, do I need an application on top of the model so that my users can access the model easily. All that becomes part of your tech and infrastructure strategy. And then finally, finding the right skill for someone to do that. So do you have the right skill to kind of develop or build on top of the models? Not only that, host, manage, deploy, etc. So there are a lot of phases involved in this process. So these are the four steps that exist today. I mean, not very exhaustive ones, but it will give you a sense of what it takes to build your AI strategy if you're looking to build some of the AI use cases internally. And with that, I'm reaching my conclusion here. With AI, what we have seen is there is a complete spectrum of responses we have seen over a period of time, and especially in the last few years. The first spectrum on the left side is a denial, right? That AI cannot do my job. AI cannot help in my use case, right? And we don't have time to look at AI. So I'm happy with how things are going on, and I'm confident that AI will not impact my current use case. On the right side of the spectrum, which is the other extreme, is the panic that AI is going to steal my job, right? It's going to replace my use case um, by bots, by different applications. But we are somewhere in the middle with, if we apply the positive mindset, where it's proven with whatever we have seen in the last 2 years that AI can be insanely productive for all of us, right? If you use it right way, AI can be insanely productive. And that will help not just individually, but as an organization, as a team to become productive. So what we have to look at is this middle where start looking at implementation of AI with a positive mindset that we want to increase the productivity. Um, there's no need to be in denial. It's not good to be in denial. It's not good to be in the panic state. The middle state is what we need. And with that conclusion, I think I'll end the session, and we can take question and answer. We would love to understand any new use case that you have tried, which we've not spoken about. Um, any other thoughts, suggestions? I would love to take up that. And thank you so much for your patience and listening to this talk. So we have a few questions already in the chat, or the question and answer window. The first question is, can we integrate self-healing from pCloudy to my current framework? Yeah, absolutely. I think I spoke about during the slide as well, that we have built it in a way that you can integrate with any framework. And if you have if you have APM Selenium based framework, it's much easier to implement. You can just insert some of the capabilities that we provide. But if you have built your own custom frameworks, or if you have your own tool, you'll have to integrate our APIs. So the answer to this question is yes. The method can change depending on the kind of framework or the tools that you're using, but you can very well integrate. Yeah, the other question is around sharing the presentation. So of course, this whole recording itself will be available to everyone, and you can use this recording to go back to the session or share with your friends, colleagues. Yeah, it will be available after the session is over. If there are more questions, I'll be happy to take up. If not, then we will conclude. We are here for a few more minutes. Feel free to let your, feel free to drop in your questions to the Q&A box. I think we will take up one more questions, and then we will conclude. I'm not sure if I can see all the questions. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong window. How can big organizations start implementing AI? Should we start small or go all out? It's a very interesting question. If you have seen the journey, it's the startups and the smaller organizations which have taken the lead in implementing AI. Bigger organizations have a lot of challenges with respect to data security, sharing the data outside with some of the open LLMs. So in that sense, they have been a bit slow in adopting the AI use cases. But the right way is to start prototyping. As I was talking about, there are so many open source LLMs available in the market. You can download, deploy it on your local environments, and then start experimenting with smaller use cases. Once you prototype, then you will know what kind of ROIs are you getting. So you have to identify some of the problem statement. We talked about the 4-step strategy. You identify some of the problem statements, start doing the prototyping, see the results, and then decide which is the right problem to implement at a larger scale. So this is a general, I think, trend that we are seeing. A lot of big enterprises are going through those small experimentation, and this is the right time because we are going through that trough of disillusionment, and we are also seeing a lot of new techniques coming up in the market. So I think within next 6 months to 1 year, we'll see much more evolved techniques. But by the time, if you have kind of understood the problems or have done some prototyping, you will know which problems to kind of go deeper. with the evolved methods which will exist 6 months down the line. So start small, do more prototyping, try fast, fail fast is what I can suggest. There's another question, how is AI used in visual testing at pCloudy? So this is, as I was talking about, is about using computer vision. It's more about just doing the screen comparison using the computer vision models and finding out the differences. Um, Now there are variety of techniques where how minutely can you identify the difference? That's where the real game lies, and whoever has been able to kind of crack that problem um, is ahead of the game, and that's where I think we have done quite a bit of work in terms of giving you differences as granular as possible. So go ahead and try and share your thoughts there. Okay, I think we will conclude it for today. If you have any questions, uh, any suggestions, feel free to drop in um, to the host or directly to me. I'll be more than happy to kind of answer those questions. There are so many questions which came up just now. So what I'll do is I'll probably take up those questions and answer it and send it one-on-one. So feel free to just drop in more questions and we will come back to you with the answers post this session. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you've got some food for thought in terms of how to implement AI augmented testing within your enterprise, within your testing life cycle. Um, Happy implementing AI. With that, thank you so much, and have a good day and good night.